Welcome, Blue Train Movement. Welcome, family. Welcome, intercessors. I want to welcome you right this very moment to Live with Chatufa. We are here strengthening each other in the promises of God, knowing that the season of the freedom of the Zimbabwean people is now. We are here once again live on the show, and thank you so much for those that have joined us in the show. Of course, Shelly Case, I'm so happy to see you being the very first one on the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We are looking at issues that are happening in our nation. Many issues that are happening that are signifying the closeness that we are to the freedom that we have always awaited for a very long time. And I can assure you, family, I can assure you, citizens of Zimbabwe, that freedom is here because God is in it. God is in it. There is no way that the Blue Eagle this time around is not going to conquer all the snakes and the vipers, because it is that season, it is that time. We've reached the time, and we are definitely going to get there. And we are looking at many things that are happening in the nation as a sign of where we are going, what is happening around. And of course, we are seeing God on the move. Thank you very much for those that have joined us. Remember, as always, to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and also discuss with others so they can also discover the gospel of the freedom of Zimbabwe. We need many people and citizens not to miss this gospel, for it is very important for us to do that. We are looking at a desperate government, desperate Zanu PF government, as we are looking at Bulawayo Mayor, Bulawayo Mayor Coltart defends Bulawayo nurses after a Zanu PF minister labels them anti-government. Just imagine how sad and very unfortunate that we find that we have a vindictive government. We have a government that is full of anger because they can see that their systems are not working, everything is not moving, and we have a whole minister who goes to threaten nurses in Bulawayo and calling them anti-government. You know, that is disrespect. Like we are always saying on the show, that Zanu PF politicians have forgotten that they are actually deployees of the masses. They are actually servants of the masses. They are not bosses. It's unfortunate that in Zimbabwe, politicians have taken it to themselves that they are bosses over the masses, that they can do what they want. They can insult people. They can disrespect citizens. They can, belittle citizens, drag citizens in the mud, and nothing happens to them. It is very unfortunate. I saw the video of this deputy minister and how he was speaking to the nurses, even the nurses in charge at the Bulawayo hospital. It was so disrespectful, and it just hurts to see how we have stooped so low as a nation to get to a point where we don't respect each other as citizens. Somebody who is elected in an office would think that it is their right to be there, and they're above the law. Nothing will ever happen to them. They can treat other people any way that they want, but that is not it. We really need to change a lot of things. The culture that ZANU-PF has cultivated in Zimbabwe is a culture that really needs to be worked on, and we need to change a lot of things so that our country can become again a respectable country, a country that loves its people, that respects its citizens, that cares for its own people. But all that under a ZANU-PF government will never ever happen. A home minister goes to a hospital. When we look at the situation right now in the hospitals, we look at the situation of nurses having a take home of $200 after all that evil and witchcraft taxation that Mthuli Ncube has just introduced. Most of the civil servants are actually failing to just feed their families, just to take their children to better schools or even boarding schools. Teachers who are teaching at a boarding school cannot afford to pay fees for their children at the same school that they are teaching. And we call that a normal country. And we have ZANU-PF beating their chests, telling themselves that they fought the liberation war and they are the bosses. But time has come that ZANU-PF must just go. We are sick and tired, and enough is enough. I just want us to look at the video and what happened in that Bulawayo hospital. I'm telling you, most of you will never like it. It was very unfortunate to see things happening like that in our nation. And I would want to thank David Coltart as the mayor of Bulawayo, coming through to defend the nurses and explain the situation on the ground, because we have a government that does not listen, a government that thinks it is always on the right, yet they are the ones that have made life very difficult for Zimbabwean people and for the masses of Zimbabwe. So here is a tweet by David Coltart, and he says, "This is most unfortunate. My impression is that medical professionals in all our city of Bulawayo hospitals are working as hard as possible in difficult circumstances to alleviate the plight of the sick. This is what we call leadership. When you are a leader, you are supposed to be encouraging. When you are a leader, you are supposed to be giving hope. When you are a leader, you are not supposed to be always being on the negative. You are supposed to be somebody who recommends, somebody who listens, somebody who appreciates the effort that your subordinates are doing, and be able to listen to their plight and find solutions and ways of how to make things work better. You don't come and start lambasting on the people. Who doesn't know that the government of Zimbabwe has failed? Who doesn't know that the Zanu PF government has failed? And in every sector, it's not only health. Talk of any other ministry in Zimbabwe, there's no ministry so far that is ever working perfectly. There is just disaster in every ministry. And these are the same people that are causing this difficulty or this disaster that we are seeing in different ministries in Zimbabwe, because they are the people that are stealing. These are the thieves. These are the people that are in corrupt activities. These ZANU PF appointees and ZANU PF bigwigs. But here he is. He comes and he starts to take the blame and shift the blame from themselves to the ordinary civil servants and nurses. And it is very unfortunate. Really, really, very, very unfortunate. So we have a video from Newsday. We just want to acknowledge Newsday for that video. And I just want us to see this video and listen to what was said by this minister. It is very unfortunate.
The whole of staff government, the whole of staff, they are anti-government because what they are doing is to make government. The whole of staff, they are anti-government because what they are doing is to make noise. You see these media guys, they come here and take stories which are being given by these anti-government guys who are employed by the government. So thank you, sister. Let's go to.
I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, can you hear? He's complaining about media, and he's saying these are anti-government people that are employed by the government are busy giving information to social media or to the journalists, and they are anti-government. And I don't know what it is that is implying, because when journalists come, they are simply told the situation that is on the ground, just things as they are. But you cannot find yourself now turning around the situation that is on the ground, and you want to blame the victims. All these civil servants, these nurses, doctors, and all these professionals that are working at UBH and any other hospital in Zimbabwe, they are not to blame for the situation that we find in Zimbabwe today. The situation in the Zimbabwean hospitals is solely to blame on Mnangagwa, his government, and all his corrupt ministers and permanent secretaries. They are stealing and they continue to steal. They've stolen so much and the systems are not functional. And today they want to come and turn around tables and want to start to blame actually the victims and make themselves the victim. So let's continue to listen.
We have tried to check what was the cause to say this news is a failure of things are over budget break and they are being suspended. And I tried to check what was the reason for them to be suspended.
Yeah, I heard it was about stock management.
Stock management. Which stock management? What, did the stock disappear, or it was just misplaced, or it was taken by someone without documentation?
Yeah, because we offer documentation or not documentation.
According to does that warrant suspension? According to your own thinking, generally.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. That's your feelings about them. They are there by that fact. Would you believe me if I'm to say so?
Yeah, I would believe you because maybe you know some of the things I may not know where they are available, but it's important to know.
Let me say, sister, thank you for your information, and I think everyone is hearing. Most of the things which you said, they are available. But there's someone who is taking patient's life at risk because if he or she is not told by certain individual to do that choose, they cannot do. Especially the class of parents and the crave advantages, because what have you, and from not from right now, all those things are there. But it's unfortunate that the criminals here, do you believe the criminals here?
Exactly. This is the situation. So he continues to say there are criminals here and in the hospital, and asking that nurse in charge whether she agrees that there are criminals in the hospital. Well, we are not refusing that there could be people that are stealing from some of the equipment or the medication or whatever it is, the resources from the hospital. That is happening. And what do you expect if people would start to turn into thieves, like he's saying? People are stealing because they are failing to survive. What do you expect from a nurse? A nurse who is supposed to be getting on the taxi every day to work and back, to work and back, and you can calculate the money that he needs, she needs every day before we can talk about the lunch. And then you look at the money that they are earning, then you find that only the lunch and the taxi is not enough for a month for a whole nurse. But the nurse has to be renting a full house. He has to be feeding the children, paying the school fees, paying for other, and taking care of other extended family members. And you can wonder, it's really a mystery in Zimbabwe if you ask yourself how these civil servants are really surviving. You see? So if we find now a situation where these people will start to end up, taking some other things and, or acting corruptly, it is because it starts from the top. So the rotting of a fish begins from the head. So if Zimbabwe is suffering or wailing in poverty and corruption, it is because that government of ZANU-PF has allowed that to happen. If the government of ZANU-PF had managed to stop corruption right from the top, there was not going to be any corruption that was going to go down the ladder until it reaches the very last person. So what is happening in Zimbabwe now is a situation where every civil servant, where they are working, they have to feed from where they are working. They have to see how they can make a living from exactly where they are working. And these ZANU-PF ministers, they want to behave as if they don't know what really is happening, because most of the things that are supposed to be getting to the hospitals, the medications and the like, they are being stolen. Probably less than a quarter of the allocations of hospitals are actually reaching the hospitals. There's nothing. Nurses would not even have gloves. Imagine they have to be touching wounds, they have to be touching blood, they have to be touching some skin with diseases and things like that. And they don't have gloves. And you expect them to continue to do their work. Imagine when there is a scene of an accident and there is blood all over and people are coming in the days of HIV and all these other diseases, and nurses don't even have gloves. Just imagine, there's not even paracetamol. There is not. Just imagine in a huge hospital, you don't find paracetamol. A small tablet, just something that you can buy very, very cheap from some tuck shop somewhere. But a whole government fails to supply paracetamol in a huge hospital. And when these guys are coming and they find that things are not working in the hospital, and he's not there to come and improve, I can assure you that that minister was not there to come and improve the situation. No, he's just coming there for social media. Remember what is happening now? They are now competing. Mnangagwa has said ministers are supposed to be competing. There is this appraisal or some kind of, I think you have seen it all over social media, where Mnangagwa was giving Owen Ncube the award for being the best working or the most number one hard working minister or something like that. And all other ministers were also there. So there's this some kind of competition. And what now they are doing is they just want to go to some place and they have cameras running, and then they can have that on all over on social media, so that their graph for that competition of theirs that they are doing of hard work they can also find themselves competent. But it's not that they are there to solve situations. They are not there, because right now no minister or no government minister can be able to fix the problem that is in Zimbabwe. For example, this very minister, he can never solve the problems that are in Zimbabwe, because he's just a deputy minister, by the way. He can never solve what is happening, because the people that are causing these problems are bigger than him by far. They are bigger than him by far. He cannot even ask his minister what is happening. He cannot, not even the minister, cannot even ask the permanent secretary. He cannot even ask the minister. He can't even go further to ask the deputy president or whatever, up to Mnangagwa. They can't, because they know what is starving the government. What is starving the government is there is a sitting president who is a criminal, who has got cartels, and these cartels are sucking. They are sucking all the riches of the country, all the finances of the country. They are being suckled by cartels that belong to Emmerson Mnangagwa. So no minister can ever be able to solve any problem in Zimbabwe. What they can only do is to show face, just like they are doing, to do some cosmetic visiting, and then they can just have cameras running as if they are doing some kind of work. But to be very, very honest, there's nothing that they will ever change. So for him to get there and start to attack the nurses, to tell nurses that they are anti-government, to tell the people that they are criminals there, yeah, that one, he should be actually, if he is pointing at them as criminals, he must be counting most of the fingers where they are pointing. Because each time that you are pointing at somebody, the other 4 fingers are all pointing at you. That minister is the thief and the criminal, and his government and his president. These are the people that are causing all ministries of Zimbabwe not to be functional, and nothing is happening. It's just pathetic, and it is said that today hospitals in Zimbabwe are just a death trap. When we can just take our relatives to hospital today in Zimbabwe just because of desperation, because no family can just be looking or watching their loved one, fading away in the house. It is natural. It is just natural within us as human beings to say, let's just take this person to hospital. But you are taking somebody to hospital, which is not even different from the house, because the house could be even better, because probably the person is sleeping in a better bed. You get there, there is no electricity in the hospital, there is no injection, there is no bed to sleep on, there is no oxygen, there is no blood in the hospital. The doctors themselves are rare to be found. They are never there. If they come, they can just make a round, and at the end of the day, they don't do anything. The theaters are not functioning because there are a lot of things that are missing, that are not there in the theater. So operations, some other operations are on suspension, and the patients are just lying on those beds in pain and with nothing being done. The doctors will just come and make rounds for him to fill in his duty roster, so that he's seen that he came to work. From there, he gets in his own car or gets to hike and go back to his house. Nobody's caring about anything anymore. So this is the scenario that we are facing in Zimbabwe right now, that ZANU-PF has caused a collapse of all governmental systems, and there's nothing that is working. And this is why we are in this predicament. So I'm sure David Coltart does understand the real situation on the ground. These things that we are talking about, Coltart is very, very much aware of the truth. This is why he has come out to defend the nurses, and he says, no. According to me, as the mayor of Bulawayo, I remember, he has been going around all these places and all these hospitals, also in the clinics, also hearing what is happening and getting reports. So he does understand the situation on the ground. This is why he's coming out to defend the nurses and saying, considering the very difficult circumstances under which the nurses are working, they are trying their best. I'm telling you, these people are supposed to be people that are very frustrated to do their work. You can never enjoy your work when you get to a hospital where you can't find even a pen. A pen, just a pen that big or that ever sharp. It's not the government of Mnangagwa cannot supply an ever sharp to a clinic. You get there, you hear that there's no pen. You get there, you hear that there is no card. Those cards that we used to be there, which we were given for free from the time that we used to cry so loud when our mom take us to the hospital and we know that we were going to be injected. There were those khaki cards that used to be there, and every time you would see that khaki card, you would see an injection coming, And as being kids, oh, it was a tough time. Yes, all those used to be just there, but they are no longer there. You don't find cards anymore. Nowadays, the cards that are used in hospitals and clinics in Zimbabwe, they are small books. That's you as the patient. You will have to bring an exercise book from your house, and then they write your whatever that they write on that book using your pen and your book. They put their stamp, and then they charge you the money for the card for registration. Just imagine when you are registering in your own book that you brought from your own house, and yet you are charged the money for. What kind of a country is this? What kind of a country is this? So painful, I tell you. And then after they write all that and the like, they admit you, or you go there, maybe it's outpatient, and then you get there, the nurses come, they diagnose you, whatever it is, take temperature and the like, they write. After they write, they will tell you that there is nothing in the pharmacy, in the local pharmacy at the hospital. You now have to go out to go and look for a pharmacy to buy. And do you know what these ZANU-PF people have done? Most of these ZANU-PF people, they've started building pharmacies. They've started establishing pharmacies around hospitals and clinics all over. So what is now happening is the ZANU-PF government is starving hospitals from not having medication, so that patients are forced to go and buy at the nearest pharmacy. And that pharmacy, when you search deeper, you'll find that it is run by a ZANU-PF somebody. So, and when you get there, the medication that they are selling there, they are selling in US dollar. Exactly, this is what is happening. So they are milking money. ZANU-PF is milking money from people that are at the verge of death, that are standing between the thin line of life and death. But still, ZANU-PF there will be still saying, we still need money. Wow, we don't care whether you are facing death. They still need the US dollar. So there is no willpower whatsoever from the government of Zimbabwe to provide hospitals with enough medication, because they know that once they do that, they've killed their business for pharmacies. Remember, Auxilia Mnangagwa has been the one who was given that tender of bringing medication into the country. And many of these pharmacies, they are attached to her. She's the one who has to be bringing in the medication and just making billions. What is supposed to be done by the Ministry of Health was taken over. Remember when she was made the patron of the Ministry of Health sometime back there? That was the time that she was given that tender to be the one that brings in medication. And any other medical importing licenses, they've been suspended. No one is allowed to bring to bring medication from outside, because they know that it is Auxilia who has to be doing that for the whole country. I'm talking about the whole country, just imagine. The whole country. And she will bring in all that medication free of duty free. She pays no duty. And then she buys them for free out there, somewhere there in India or wherever. And then some of them they don't even check whether they are about to expire or what. They just bring in, and then they are supplied. When they are supplied to the government, the prices are inflated. Maybe a bottle of medicine that was supposed to be costing $5, when it is sold to the government, it is going to be sold maybe for $25 each bottle. And then she pockets her millions. After that, we hand it over to the government. The government in the ministry, they have people that are corrupt in the ministry who are responsible for the disbursement of these medications. They will steal again some of the boxes of medication that are supposed to be allocated to some place. They go and sell them again to private pharmacies. And what finally arrives at the hospital or the clinic will be very, very little and very minimal, maybe less than a third of what was supposed to be coming there. This is what is happening in Zimbabwe. And the 3/4 of the patients, they will never find the medication. They will have to go and buy exorbitantly from pharmacies that are run by ZANU-PF goons. This is the country that we are facing. This is why we are saying, family, till when shall we continue to be oppressed by these people, allowing our lives to be sailing on the line of life and death, and still nobody caring about it, but somebody will be still thinking of making millions out of it. This is why we need to demand freedom. Zimbabwe needs freedom from oppression. This is serious oppression that we are seeing ZANU-PF doing. And when they come out there, they want to threaten us, telling us that we are criminals, telling us that we are anti-government. And yet that government that is saying the people are anti itself, They are the ones that are causing all this rot and all these problems. Who is ever going to acknowledge that government is wrong, that government is not doing enough, that this is a corrupt government, that this government is stealing from the poor and is exposing the life of Zimbabweans into so much serious danger of dying of diseases that are not supposed to be killing people, supposed to be natural. I mean, always killing people. Why? Because there's no medication, there's no attention, and things like that. This is the scenario that we are facing. Talk less about the HIV. Just imagine with ARV. I wonder right now what the situation is with ARVs in Zimbabwe. Whether most governments, when you look at them, they are actually supplying ARV for free. South Africa, Botswana, I know of some such countries, they supply ARV for free. And do you think that can ever happen in Zimbabwe? I don't even know the situation. Maybe somebody can tell us in the comment section what is happening with ARV. Is ARV being provided for free by Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwean government? And what I don't think that can ever be possible, because the moment those medicines arrive at the ministry, they are quickly swept away by the corrupt goons of Zanu PF. And one way or the other, they will need to make it something that is sold for profit. So it's a profiteering government. It's a nguavaring government, like we have always said. It is a crookish government. It is a government of thieves and dealers, and we can never ever survive with such a government. This is why we are declaring every time that Zimbabwe must be freed from these goons and these thieves. This is why we are saying, intercessors, let us continue praying for the nation. For God is in the process of delivering the nation. God is fed up with Zanu PF. This is why he's bringing the season of change. That change must finally happen to the nation. So for us as citizens, as the Blue Movement citizens, as intercessors, we need to stand in prayer to continue to declare the plans of God over the nation of Zimbabwe. Freedom is coming. All hospitals shall start to work again. We'll have even the art hospitals being built in Zimbabwe. We are going to have state-of-the-art clinics that are going to be built in Zimbabwe. Not those sheikhs that ZANU-PF is building state-of-the-art. That is just insult to Zimbabweans. They are building some classroom, some half classroom of a clinic somewhere, and they call it state-of-the-art. What hogwash and rubbish. We are going to see state-of-the-art clinics and hospitals come the new great Zimbabwe. And it is coming. It's going to happen. We are going to see nurses that will be, well fed and well paid. Nurses that will be confident and happy about their work. They will be doing their work wholeheartedly. We are going to see that happening in the education sector and all other sectors. And Zimbabwe will be rising to greater heights. All thanks to what God has done for us this season to bring a great wind of change upon the nation of Zimbabwe, and ZANU-PF cannot survive the wind. So family, let us continue. Intercessors, let us continue praying for the nation. The nation is coming. All this pain ZANU-PF has caused upon us is never going to be there forever. Very, very soon, we are going to be celebrating. We are coming out of the doldrums of ZANU-PF, and definitely God is in it. God is in it, and God is definitely in it. You will never leave us. You will never forsake us. Yes. Gogomucha Nyere says, hello, Chatufa, keep on feeding us spiritually. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gogo. Nessa Kaitano, how are you? Says, very true, champion. Our relatives are dying every day. We will continue to pray and to make sure that things happen is according to the plans of God. Alice Superior says, you can say it again, brother. This government is hiding with a finger. No way. Now exposure, God is at work. Yes, definitely. God is bringing exposure, and ZANU-PF is going down. ZANU-PF, oppressor, devil, Satan, deceiver, no heart at all. What have we done to be treated like slaves? God rescues Zimbabwe. Indeed, God is or has already rescued Zimbabwe. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Yes, this is what we continue to declare. Magebra says, it's Gogo here, says, hello, Chatufa, God is not happy, definitely, with what ZANU-PF has done to the Zimbabwean people. And a time has come, and season has come, and that is the season. the season for change. And God is definitely getting rid of all the filth and the rot that ZANU-PF has brought upon the family of Zimbabwe. And I'm telling you, God is never going to let this go for on and on. The end of ZANU-PF is now, and we are celebrating that finally God has brought liberty and is going to bring a new great Zimbabwe that is going to care for its own. Otherwise, family, I want to thank you so much for joining me. We shall be meeting exactly 6 o'clock. If I'm right, you check the banners if I'm right. 6 o'clock, we are going to be meeting on the main channel, Chatufa Television Production, where we are going to be discussing again the issue of what the change champion has actually said. And there is something that is very, very important there. Be ready, watch out, stay in the space. We are going to be meeting there, and we will be discussing more and more of what is happening. Otherwise, for now, I want to thank you so much for joining me. Shalom, shalom. Till we meet again at Chatufa Television Production, we shall be on. Be ready. Shalom. Be blessed, family. Love you all.